Hey there, gardeners. Welcome to my jungle on this very dreary day where the weather matches my own attitude. It's pretty pessimistic out. For the past few weeks, it's been really unseasonably cloudy and gray and cool and just not normal for Southwest Florida winters. Usually in the winter in Southwest Florida, it's mid 80s for the high and it's usually very sunny. So most of our beds have been set up in partially shady areas to protect them from what's usually a really intense sun in the winter in Southwest Florida. But that's not happening this year, of course not. So the beds are not doing as well as they usually do because it's very different weather. So I will show you what exactly is doing well in this dreary, inappropriate weather right now in Southwest Florida in our garden in January, middle of January 2024. So let's go ahead and let's look at what we got going on. To start off with, this is our oldest bed that we started, September, October, I can't even remember now, but this is the first bed we started this year. You can see the backdrop of this bed is this big wall of Everglades cherry tomatoes. They were all volunteers, and I just harvested yesterday. Got about 2 cups of tomatoes off of them. It's just gone crazy. It's a wall. It shades the rest of the bed, which is usually helpful in the winter because our sun can be so intense in Southwest Florida in the winter that most veggies actually don't do well because of the bright, intense sun. But this year it's very cloudy. It's kind of gross. So here what we've got growing really well, this is a pak choi. So it's a white-stemmed pak choi that's doing so well. That's our front row here, is the pak choi. And then we've got lacinato kale, which usually does really well in our garden. It's being overshadowed by the pak choi. It's not getting a word in edgewise. We have a 1,000-head kale plant doing pretty okay here. Another lacinato kale. My onions that I planted in this bed are struggling to find sunlight because everyone else has taken over much faster than I thought they would. This is a rapini plant, which is a kind of like related to broccoli. And this one is putting on a little head there, it looks like. I believe this is also a rapini, but growing very differently from its friend down there. This one's getting about over 4 feet tall now and not trying to give us any kind of head. Last year, the rapini did badly in our yard. It was a really hot winter last year and sunny, and so the rapini bolted and it immediately put on heads and they were bitter as all get out. Not delicious at all. I think it's still going to be bitter and disgusting this year, but I don't know. We're growing it anyway just because we are masochists and like to grow things that are disgusting. But the pak choi is delicious and it's doing really well. Now this whole bed, which is just doing crazy, this has no external inputs in it. So all the soil in this bed was made from just homemade compost. Homemade compost, mulch, more homemade compost, more mulch, weeds that we pulled and just laid there to deteriorate. So all the nutrients in this are local from our yard, our own personal nutrient blend. And so that's great. Very low carbon footprint with this bed. I haven't been watering it because we've also been unseasonably wet, which is good because we're coming off of a 20-inch rainfall deficit from last year. So we need the rain. This is a really interesting green here that's doing really well this year. I tried growing it last year and again, it was too hot and it just melted. But this is tatsoi, this plant here. So it's like a good replacement for spinach. I don't really like spinach, but I do like this. So this is a good plant if you like spinach. Tatsoi, growing well down here, but it doesn't like the heat for sure. This is our second oldest bed here, and we've got my favorite kale, the 1,000-head kale here. That's a great one if you like a kale for smoothies. It doesn't have a bitter bite or taste to it, and it's got these nice flat leaves, so it's not friendly to aphids, but the whiteflies do love it. But whiteflies aren't a big deal with kale. We don't have, to my knowledge, any viruses transmitted by whiteflies for kale down here, so that's okay. That's our 1,000-head kale. And we've got our Chinese cabbage down here in the front row and some bok choy. And interestingly, the bok choy looks like it's trying to bolt. I'm used to things like bok choy and lettuce bolting and going straight to seed when it's hot out. I don't know if it's been too cool or if it's just too closely planted to the other plants, but that's trying to bolt. We've got a couple yod pha plants here, getting nice and meaty and might be ready for harvest soon. If you haven't tried yod pha as a broccoli replacement, you definitely should. It's delicious. It tastes somewhere between broccoli and asparagus. And then we've got this bed here. This was supposed to be our herb bed. We made it out of cinder blocks, and we plant herbs in the cinder blocks. And you can see we've got oregano going crazy here. This is really interesting. This is called Aztec sweet herb. Has a really sweet taste in the leaves, like an alternative to sugar. Got some society garlic over there. But then we have all this Ethiopian kale that took over the bed. I didn't plant it. It volunteered. It volunteers like crazy, the Ethiopian kale, and it's just taken over the entire bed. I have to tame it because it's just too much. And it's obviously happy. If you saw my other video about plants that volunteer, this is one of them. It's great for soups and stews. Do not put it in your smoothies. Just don't. Trust me. Here's a little bitty planter that we tried to do for some greens, a little salad planter. And it's got the tatsoi I was talking about, some purple bok choy, which is beautiful, and some lettuce. They're struggling because it's in the shade. And usually, like I said, we try to plant things in the shade to protect them from our intense winter sunlight, but we're not getting the intense winter sunlight this year. Feels like we live in England or Oregon or one of those cloudy, dreary places that you hear so much about. But yeah, it's not a typical winter. It kind of sucks. And here is our only in-ground bed that we grow plants directly in our native soil with just a little bit of amending. So this is straight sand. It's full of nematodes, so that really limits what we can grow here. So down at this end, I transplanted these in. These were beautiful transplants a couple weeks ago, and I put them in the bed. And it's all brassicas because they don't care about the nematodes. If you have nematodes, you can plant brassicas directly in your soil. So we've got a pak choi here, purple bok choy, Chinese cabbage, some kale plants over there. And then in between, I planted fenugreek. This is our first time growing fenugreek plants. So I don't know how they're gonna do. I don't know if they're nematode resistant or not, but we've got some fenugreek planted in there. And of course, our Seminole pumpkin vine stretching across the bed. But then at this other end of the bed, see if I can get in here without crushing anything. So at this end of the bed, I planted more brassicas, but I did my style of gardening that I call chaos gardening, where I took all of our brassica seeds and I mixed them up in my hand, and then I just sowed them in rows because I wanted to see what would come up if I direct seeded brassicas in our sandy, dry, nutrient-poor, nematode-ridden soil. And everything came up except the purple bok choy. The purple bok choy was not interested in sprouting in the soil, but the bok choy there looks great. The kale is coming up. The kale is not as happy as the bok choy. Looks like this bok choy is about to put on some seeds, probably because of the close proximity to the other plants. I did not thin them out. This is inappropriate what I've done here. It's not good gardening. I should have thinned them out when they started coming up, but I didn't expect this many plants to actually make it. So I didn't really have a plan. It was kind of an experiment, a survival of the fittest, because I thought most things would just not make it in this bad soil, but they did. So we've got kale and bok choy. So what we're gonna use these instead for is we're just gonna come out here to pick the leaves for like little baby green salads, since they're all just stunted because I didn't properly space them or plan the garden out, because I'd pretty much given up on this bed and this soil. But obviously prematurely. I have confirmed I can direct sow these brassica seeds into this sandy bed that has no nutrients and lots of nematodes and is very hydrophobic, but they're doing all right. You can also see one end of this bed I did completely give up on for vegetables, and I decided to try bananas there. And I think that was, I don't know, a year or a year and a half ago, I put one banana plant there, and now we've got all these guys. So the bananas are doing well. This might turn into a banana bed. And I was surprised because bananas are supposed to like a lot of nutrients and water, and we don't water this bed and we don't add nutrients. But these bananas found it. And so did these brassicas. And these are two other more recently planted veggie beds, not veggie breads, with brassicas. And you can see a very happy Chinese cabbage here. Bok choys, again, they're bolting, so I'm wondering if the cooler weather is making this particular variety of bok choy bolt. That's unfortunate. Lacinato kale, that's just kind of somewhat happy. Another yodfa plant here. Some tatsoi, and the lettuce plants have not done well this year. These lettuce plants are epigenetically chosen. I've been growing them in the yard for about 5 years, and I save my own seeds. So this particular genetic strain, and somebody can, come on and yell at me and tell me I'm stupid and that's not the right term, but the genetics in these particular lettuce plants is for hot, dry winters that we usually get. So it's not doing well in this cooler, cloudy, moist winter that we're having this year. I'm just not growing lettuce because I used my own saved seeds. If I used store-bought seeds, they'd probably do great because those seeds are more adapted to this kind of climate. And there's some more bok choy plants over here. These guys aren't bolting yet, but they might be on their way. So maybe this isn't the right winter for that particular variety. And lastly, here are my broccoli plants that I thinned out and put in these transplant trays a couple weeks ago in the video you saw where I made my own soil blend. And these will go in the beds next. I don't know where because I'm out of room. I'll have to remove probably all the bolting bok choy and put it in there, but that's my broccoli plants, so that'll be next to go out there. And anyway, here's one final view of our gray, cloudy winter that we're having this year. Not getting great solar production. It's pretty sad in that regard. But just wanted to thank you all for watching and hope your gardening is going better than mine. Till next time.